Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the new batch of Hiya Toys Injustice 2 villains, or bad guys, or just characters in the fighting game because they're all kind of the same. Good or bad in the fighting, whatever, you get the idea. So here we have Bane, Reverse Flash, and Darkseid, and these are pretty unique figures for them because they're all kinds of different scales. We have 3 different scales all in one batch right here, and they are just loaded with paint and detail. Will the articulation stand up to that though? Will it be good enough, or will it be a problem? We'll see. These are very small figures and sometimes it's an issue. We're gonna have to find out. So let's go ahead and get them off the stand and take a closer look. Alrighty, we're gonna start with Reverse Flash because he's the most normal sized one. He stands just over 4 inches, about 4 1/8 inches, which makes him pretty close to, let's say, 10.5 centimeters. Bane is the second biggest. He stands, let's go ahead and do inches first. Let's get the camera focused. He stands about a little over 4.5 inches, which makes him pretty close to 11.5 centimeters, not counting his tube that sticks up. And then for Darkseid, he stands just shy of 5 inches, which is actually pretty big for this scale. He's fairly noticeably larger than the rest. And that's about, let's say, about 12.75 centimeters. So you can see the difference between the two, the big one and the little one, quite a lot. He's quite a big guy. All right, now before we get into the review, let's go ahead and do the question of the day. Who is your favorite villain in the DC universe? That's a simple enough question, easy enough. We should all be able to participate in that. For me, my favorite villain is, well, that's actually a tough question. Which one is my favorite? It's not Joker. Joker's boring. Ha. Fight about that in the comment section. For me, my favorite villain, I would have to say, I like Darkseid a whole bunch, but not the Injustice version, like classic Darkseid, you know? You know, like that one animated movie where Superman's cousin comes. That's a good one. That's okay. Anyway, on to the review. Let's go ahead and do the aesthetics first. We'll start with Reverse Flash. Boy, is this guy loaded for such a small. Oh, you know what? Let me just give you a demonstration as to how small this guy actually is for those of you who aren't sure. There he is up against the 7-inch Spawn figure. He is tiny. He's about the same size as Spawn's mace. And then, just because it's fun for me to do it, here he is up against Super Shredder. Can't even see Super Shredder. Very, very tiny figure. So all this detail is impressive. I don't collect this scale, but I am always impressed when they can make them look really nice. And as you can see, the line work and detailing on this guy is pretty darn good. There's shading throughout. The lines are mostly really clean. I mean, it's as good as a Marvel Legends paint job. Technically, it's a whole lot more. Actually, even not technically, realistically, there's more paint on this figure than there would be on a Marvel Legends figure. So they do a really good job bringing these little guys to life. And they're almost always really clean. So paints are not usually an issue. Sculpts are not usually an issue. And I would say on this guy, there's really nothing that's an issue until maybe articulation. Even the face is acceptable. I think that looks okay. Still a bit cartoonish, but all in all, that's a really nice aesthetic for this guy. I like the proportions. I'm gonna give this guy aesthetically a 9 out of 10. Really, really well done. On to Bane. What do we have here? Well, it's pretty much more of the same. The paneling is all clean. The line work is all clean. We have metallic finishes. The sculpt is good. Even his little boots have all kinds of detail in there. I really don't know how he packs all this detail into these figures. I mean, I know they're a higher price point for this scale. They're kind of like a premium for the small scale stuff, but they do such a good job. I totally understand when people collect these things. They're pretty cool. I just don't need to collect a smaller scale. I've got too much stuff already. So Bane is just like Flash. It's really, really well done. I don't have any gripes. It's awesome. It wouldn't be fair to complain about any issues because the issues are smaller than figures that are twice the size. So no pun intended again. Very, very nicely done. So he's gonna get a 9 out of 10 as well. And then for Darkseid, man, I just don't like I don't like this look for Darkseid. That's not his fault, so I'm not gonna count it. But he just has no shape to him. Everything's flat on his chest. His head looks like a cone. This is probably the worst look for Darkseid ever. Is the movie called Apocalypse, the animated movie? Superman, Batman, Apocalypse? It's something like that. I don't remember, but that one's really good. It had Andre Braugher as Darkseid. God, he did a good job. Anyway, technically this figure is just as good as the other ones, aesthetically speaking. Other than the way they've done it, this piece sticks forward a little bit. That's a little bit irritating. Maybe you could kind of adjust it. No, it pretty much sticks forward. So that's kind of annoying because it makes his belly look like it sticks out. And oh, another thing for the aesthetic on this guy, you can't bring his arms down low enough to make him look normal. So technically, in a lot of ways, he's just as good as the other ones, but he does have a couple issues. So I'm only gonna go 7. Not being able to bring his arms down is definitely an issue. I don't care so much about this. Paints and sculpts are still super clean. You can see that throughout, but not being able to bring his arms down is definitely frustrating. So 7. Okay, on to the accessories. They each come with a little display stand and the little clippy thingies to hold it together with other display stands, so that's kind of cool if you want to do that. Flash comes with the 2 fist hands that come on him in the package, 2 running hands or karate chop hands, and then 4 little red lightning effects. That's all pretty cool. Bane has the 2 fist hands that come on him in the package, and then 2 grapply type hands. And then Darkseid comes, I probably called him Doomsday. Have I done that? I hope not. I do that sometimes. I don't know why. Probably because they both start with D. Anyway, Darkseid comes with the normal head that comes on him in the package, then an angry head, and then the 2 fist hands that come on him in the package, and 2 relaxed hands. That's not a bad spread of accessories. It's not the most ever, but I think it's enough. I will say 7 all around for accessories. Okay, let's go ahead and run through the articulation really quickly. They are smaller, so there shouldn't be too much to talk about, but we will see. The head for this guy is on a ball peg. He can look up fairly well, so if you need him to lean forward for running, that should be fine. Looking down is okay. Full rotation, of course. And then any attitude. Yep, we get some attitude. So that ball peg works pretty nicely. Shoulder pads are connected to the arms. They're only somewhat flexible. Let's see what we get here. Bringing the arm out to the side takes a little bit of force, but yeah, you can do it pretty well, so that is okay. You're going to get your full rotation, no problems there. Bicep swivel comes out of the elbow, so that's definitely limited. And as far as the elbow joint itself, a little bit shy of 90. Look at all the paint work. I can't get over this. The other Flash was really good too, the basic Flash. That's where you're going to get your bicep swivel. Wrists are just on ball pegs. Diaphragm joint is almost completely hidden on this guy. If you hold it at the right angle, you can't tell it's there. Doesn't have the best range, but it definitely provides some range, so that's good. And then we have another ball peg down here, which gives even more range, and you get your rotation out of that, so that's pretty good. His hip flaps are, let's see if they're going to get in the way. Oh man. Oh wow. You can bring his leg all the way forward. I wasn't expecting that. The hip flap moves nicely. That's awesome. I really, honestly, genuinely wasn't expecting that. The leg goes back pretty far too. This guy's going to be able to go into a running pose, no problem. And then bringing the legs out to the side. Almost full on splits. Wow, this might be the best figure they've ever released from the DC stuff. That's really, really good. I'm honestly surprised by that. Okay, for the knees, that's pretty good. Double jointed knee, no problem. And then for the ankles, we can bring the foot back pretty far. That's actually really far forward, and it feels like there's only a swivel, which is not the right kind of swivel. So yeah, that sucks. The swivel sucks, but the hinges work. So hopefully that was on camera. If it wasn't, the ankles are not great. They go forward and back fine, but they have no swivel. That's useful. So his articulation's pretty awesome. Honestly, everything but the ankles is pretty much on point. 8, no, 9. For this scale, that's a 9. Those hips are out of this world. That's a great reference. Anyway, good articulation on him. Okay, on to Bane. I'm expecting it to be less. But let's see. The head doesn't look up very far. That's okay. Don't really need to. Does it look down? Yeah, doesn't have great range going up or down. Rotation's fine. That's all right. Leaning, that's fine too. So everything but up or down. That's okay. Shoulder pads on this guy. By the way, his harness is a separate piece, so that won't get in the way at all. Shoulder pads seem to be pretty rigid. Let's see what we can do here. Yeah, you can still raise them up almost horizontal, so that's all right. And then you have your full rotation. Be careful with his tubers though. You don't want to crank it all the way around or you're going to get his tubers messed up. But they don't get in the way otherwise, so that is good. I should have pointed out, for the aesthetic, he does have these little neon green tubers that are very nicely handled as well. Come on, camera. So that's pretty good. Anyway, articulation for the bicep doesn't exist, so it's down here in the elbow. Elbow joint does not quite give you 90 degrees, and then you do get your rotation out of that. Wrists are on a ball peg. Diaphragm joint on this guy. Let me zoom out a little bit. It's there, but it doesn't do much. Ball peg. For the lower one, also not much. Mostly rotation. Very limited in the torso. This is all a separate piece, so let's see how his hips function. Oh, it's connected right here, separate up here. Let's see. I can't get his hips to go any farther than that. It's probably enough, but it is somewhat limited. Going forward, we don't really have any issue other than it doesn't go quite horizontal, but it's not too encumbered, so that's okay. It doesn't go back. Thigh swivel is stuck on that one and also on that one. The knee pads are a separate piece. Let's see how the knees function. Well, the first joint works really well. This one's stuck for me, but you can see that's already 90, so that would be really good if that wasn't stuck. Let's try it on this side. Yeah, they're both stuck. Be careful with his knees. You're going to have to do some finagling to get those to work. It looks like they'll have good range, but mine are definitely stuck to various degrees. As far as the ankles go, you can bring the foot all the way back. And I will say again, his boots are very nicely detailed, but you can bring the foot all the way back and pretty far forward, and you get a decent ankle rocker. So his articulation is better in some places and worse than in others than Flash. He's only going to get a 7. That's probably pretty generous too. For the scale, I think it's good, but really it's very limited. All right, and then moving on to Darkseid. I'm guessing he's got terrible articulation. Let's see. His neck moves and his head moves. Does it help him to look down? It does. He can look down. He can look up. He can lean. He can rotate. Okay, neck's pretty good. Shoulders. No, they go better than horizontal that way, so that's really good, but you can't bring them down far enough to make him not look like a doofus. So that sucks. That definitely blows. You do get your full rotation. Mine has some spots back here. I'm guessing that's just a factory issue, so you probably won't have those, by the way. That's why I didn't mention them. That's where you get your bicep swivel and your elbow hinge, which is just about 90 degrees, and you get your swivel. Yeah, that's okay. Wrists are on a ball peg. Don't have to talk about that. Diaphragm joint. You can't really do much up here. It doesn't lean much at all. At the waist, you get more, but again, it's pretty limited still. It's mostly just shifting it around, so that's pretty limited. As for the hips, bring up these flaps, get them out of the way. He can do almost full-on splits, so that's good. If you need him to do splits, you can do that. I don't know if you would ever do that, but you could. And now the legs feel super loose. They don't feel loose out to the side still. That's very tight, actually, but going forward, they're very floppy at the bottom, at the neutral position. Once you bring them forward, they're okay. And they have decent range. They don't go back at all, but they're very floppy in that neutral position. So be aware of that. Thigh swivel is fine. Double jointed knee is pretty good. You can go a little farther than that. Yeah, you get good range out of that, so that is okay. And then for the ankle, the swivel's in the wrong spot. It swivels up here rather than in the foot, and the hinge is decent. So yeah, his articulation is not good. 5 out of 10 for his articulation. All right, so now it's time for a final verdict for these guys. I think this one's, wow, get an exhaust. This guy, get a muffler, I should have said. I don't know if you guys could even hear that. Somebody drove by with a really loud exhaust. This guy's easily the best. Then this guy, then this guy. I still think for the scale, they're all pretty darn good, except for, I don't like this one at all. This one didn't do much well, except for have clean paint. These two I would definitely recommend. I'll give them separate ratings. This guy gets, for the scale, I'm gonna give him a 9 out of 10. I really think this is a strong release. This guy gets a 7. It's solid. No real issue, but definitely not super impressive in a lot of ways. And then this guy gets only a 5. He doesn't look as good. You can't bring his arms down. He doesn't pose as well. He's just fairly disappointing. These two, on the other hand, I think they're really, really solid. I think you guys are going to enjoy these for sure. And then maybe this one too. If you're going to buy them, it's not like he's terrible, but he's definitely not good. And if you can find a decent enough pose, the sculpt and paint will carry him the rest of the way. But these two are definitely impressive, especially at the size. So there it is, guys. You can let me know what you think about these in the comment section below. Otherwise, give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and if you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos out almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.